everyone, and welcome to my channel. My name is Barbara and this is my second channel. So this channel is called Barbara Talks Some More. I have my original channel called Barbara Talks. So on this channel I will be primarily focusing on public figure natal chart readings, and we'll see how the channel will grow and evolve. Maybe I'll make commentary on other things here and there, but for now it's going to be this, okay, celebrity public figure natal chart readings. If you guys want to learn more about your own natal charts, okay, your own placements, you guys want to learn more about metaphysics, metaphysical reasoning for things, check out my original channel called Barbara Talks. If you guys want your own natal chart reading or your own progressed natal chart reading, all of that information is going to be in the description box below. So today we're going to be looking at Selenaquintanilla's natal charts, okay? So I actually hooked into her energy before I started this channel, so about 2 weeks ago. So first I was hooked into Matthew Perry's energy, okay, for about 2 weeks. Then Selenaquintanilla started creeping behind the shadows. So I do want to add a few disclaimers here. I'm not channeling Selena herself, okay? Just when I do natal chart readings for people, I am able to hook into their energy. Sometimes I do hook into certain individuals' energies, especially ones that have crossed out. Now what's interesting with that is it can be one of two ways. Either I can focus on the energy and I hook into their energy and I see what information comes through about that person. Is more so on their energetic fields and about them as an individual, or sometimes their energy comes through just randomly, okay? So that was kind of what happened in Selena's case, so that's why I'm doing her reading second. I'm kind of going in the order of the people that have come through. Now what's interesting is that, you know, when the energy comes through quote unquote unprovoked, right? So I haven't been focusing on the energy and it just randomly came through. Usually what I've noticed is that it tends to be around the person's birthday or around their death day, okay? And my conclusion, at least for this, has been that it's because of the fact that, you know, a lot of their fans and family and friends are thinking about them, right? Especially people who are closer in the timeline, right? Maybe they're within the same incarnation as all of us, you know, especially with Selena, she played a huge role, right, in music. So around these times, usually because a lot of people are thinking of these people or maybe being reminded of them, the individual who has crossed out, their energy is closer in the earth plane, right? In this dimension, it's closer because they're kind of being pulled, right, by all these people, by a lot of people. That's sometimes a downfall, okay, of being quote unquote famous, but that's probably a video for a different day. So anyways, so this is usually what I've noticed. It's usually around the birthday or death day. Now with Selena, it's neither of these. Her birthday is April 16th, 1971. We'll get into her natal chart reading shortly, but all of this information is important because it's part of the reading. And then her death day is March 31st, 1995. Okay, so basically what this signifies to me when I tap into this person's energy, quote unquote, again, unprovoked, I wasn't focusing on their energy, you know, I wasn't trying to tap in, I wasn't doing research about them or anything, right? I just tap into their energy. Usually what this signifies to me is we're gonna see something about this person in the news and the media sometime soon, okay? Now I focused on that because I wanted to know what was it, right? Like what is it that we're going to be seeing? Now interestingly enough, the first thing that came to mind and popped up, okay, visually was her unaliver, okay, Yolanda. So she popped up into my vision. Now I went to go see, okay, and all of this information, by the way, that I do say in these readings is alleged, okay? It's based on my own interpretations, okay? It's interpretation of energy. It's also interpretation of natal charts. You guys can take what resonates and leave behind what does not, okay? So I picked up on Yolanda and then I went to go see and I was like, okay, when is, like, what's going on with her sentence? She got life imprisonment. Here it says a minimum of 30 years, okay? Now, that was 1995, okay? We are approaching that 30-year mark. I'm curious to know, I haven't researched, but I'm curious to know, is she eligible for parole? I don't know the legal system too well. I just hear things like here and there when people are talking about like certain individuals. I would not be surprised if something happens with this lady, okay, and like they let her out maybe on good behavior or parole. I don't know. I don't know the legal system, but she was the first person that came to mind. So I'm just wondering, and it's interesting because the 30-year mark, okay, this was 1995, minimum of 30 years is going to take us to 2025. I wouldn't be surprised if something comes through regarding this individual, okay, and a lot of people are outraged, angry, like something, okay? Let's see, okay, that was the first thing that came to mind. The next thing that came to mind was, okay, something to do with Selena overall. Maybe, you know, like a song or something that she had created or something they do like with her music comes to the surface, or maybe there's gonna be a remake of the movie or whatever it is, okay? It could be this as well, but something's happening in the background in the works for her energy to be pulled, right? They're pulling her energy into the earth plane. I hope that makes sense, okay? So that's what I picked up on that so far. So let's get into her natal chart reading here now. With Selenaquintanilla, okay, I find her to be incredibly divine feminine energy. She's part of a particular soul group, okay? So now I know these days New Age spirituality, just because it is the era of information, all information is like two truths and one lie, right? So it's like you really have to see what resonates within your body to discern what information is accurate and not. So that being said, with New Age spirituality, there was Dolores Cannon back in the day, and she talked about the ways of volunteers, okay? The quote-unquote waves of volunteers that are coming here to raise the frequency and vibration of the planet. So there's this soul group, okay? They all started incarnating around the same time. A lot of them played a huge role in the music industry, and there's a group of them, okay? Now, not all of the people are part of the music and entertainment industry. It's just because we have it in the age of Pisces. Music and entertainment has actually played a huge role in terms of the awakening. So all the people before auto-tune, because now the music industry is full-blown hijacked, allegedly, okay? That's a completely different story what's happening now. So that's around auto-tune is when they started bringing in first electronic music and whatever, like basically it all went down the drain, okay? So with that being said, doesn't mean there isn't good songs here and there these days. What I'm saying is part of this soul group, okay, that incarnated together, especially that was part of specifically the music industry, okay? They came through, they came from the outside in. Okay, so they weren't plants, they weren't anything. They're specific individuals. We will be going through some of them, okay, on this channel. So some of these people, okay, they were in this time frame bracket, okay, up until I think autotune came out around 1994, I believe. We'd have to Google that one, but it's around that time, okay, it's in the 90s, and Selena crossed out 1995. So it's like a lot of these musicians during that time came through with the specific spiritual mission. Come in, raise the frequency of the planet with my voice, okay, that's what they're doing. So they're basically taking all of the energy of the people that they are singing to and transmuting it through their vessel, through their vocal frequency, okay? So back in the day, you could actually hear instruments in music. People were actually using their actual natural voice, right? It wasn't auto-tune, that's what I mean. Auto-tune and everything, like I'm sure if we look back, maybe they've been adjusting the frequencies for even longer than that. But there's a few of these people here and there that came through with this gift of basically raising the frequency through their voice and through sound. So you will see this, okay? Now we're going to start talking about her natal chart reading here, okay? So you will see this in her natal chart, okay? That she specifically had this gift. Now, the time here, I looked it up online. There was this specific website that has all the celebrity natal charts, okay? And on there they had her at 2:29 a.m. as an Aquarius rising. So we're gonna go with this. There was another random one that I found and it was 2 p.m. but that one didn't really resonate when I put it in. That one would have made her a Leo rising. But let's say that this time and everything is accurate. We're gonna do the reading based off of this, okay? So the thing is, the time is important. It's gonna give us the rising. It's gonna give us the houses. Then it's gonna give us, in my opinion, one of the most important axes of all, which is the ascendant, descendant, midheaven, and IC axis. So Selena was one of those people, divine feminine, came through to basically raise the frequency of the planet with her voice. Unfortunately, certain demonic forces, I'm gonna have to talk in code here a little bit, couldn't handle having a light being like that, right? And now this other individual who took her out allegedly, right, definitely hijacked. When I say hijacked, I'm not saying that I'm diverting the attention away from her or that I'm like taking the responsibility away from this individual who took her life. Absolutely not. But if you even look at a picture of this person, you can see that there's a full-blown entity that is operating through that. That's demonic forces. So this is why people who have a lot of light energy, a lot of, high vibrational energy, who are healers in this way, definitely important to try to basically keep all eyes open, right? All eyes and ears open, because these lower vibrational forces are always going to be operating more so through people, and a lot of the time, unfortunately, it's going to be through your inner circle. That's how they get to the light being. Anyway, so let's get into her natal chart reading case. So she's born on April 16th, 1971. They have her here as 2:29 a.m. Okay, she's born in Lake Jackson in Texas in the USA. So another thing that I do in my natal chart readings is I go over the numerology aspect of things. So in terms of numerology, I'm more so surface level. By the way, this isn't gematria or anything like that. This is just what do the numbers mean. And, I like to see if there's any parallels between the numerology birth day number and life path number, and to see if there's anything that's overlapping energetically in the overall birth chart, because all of this is a code, right? Everybody's coded in their own way, right? So there's a reason why certain people succeed and others don't. in certain roles, right? So there's a whole combination that's happening here, right? That basically got, let's say, Selena to succeed in her career of music, for example, okay? So with that being said, she's born on the 16th. This makes her a 7-day number person. 7-day number people, a lot of the time, quote unquote, loner life path. These people are different, they're unique, they're never gonna fit in the crowd. So to me, in numerology, and by the way, if there's anything in numerology that sparks your guys' interest, I'm sure there's so many more resources online or books even where you guys can read and learn more about the numerological aspect of things, okay? So we're just gonna scratch the surface here, just the general idea. So 7-day number people, okay? 7-day number people are always unique. It's always something spiritual that's happening with these individuals, okay? We look at, the chakras, there's 7 chakras, right? So this is all about the quote unquote enlightenment energy. They're unique. They're usually going to be highly intelligent, highly intellectual. To me, the 7-day number energy very much feels like the 11th house in astrology. It's very Aquarian-esque. It's like you're starting the trend, but you're not part of it. That's the vibe. So as we know, Selena definitely was not part of the crowd. Okay, she was very unique. I don't know her whole history, but I know she had this specific type of either music or dance. I definitely know that she started something that was very, very unique. That has 7-day number. Then we have the whole life path number. Of course, she is an 11 life path. These people need a microphone. The 11 life path or 11-day people, they're here to either speak. It's some sort of spiritual message here that they're delivering. Okay, it's like a spiritual teacher type of vibe, but overall it's a teacher. Okay, it's the speaker teacher type of energy. You'll see people who have podcasts, successful ones at least, are either 11-day numbers or 11 life path numbers. It's one of the quote unquote master, the confirmation at least in the background over here. So it's one of the master numbers, okay? So we have 11, 22, 33, and I've actually been seeing psychically 44, but I'll have to get into that in a different video. Anyways, so 11 life path people, okay? So a lot of the time, these people, okay, the master number, quote unquote master numbers, these people carry a specific type of energy that is different, right, compared to, let's say, everybody else, okay? They're going to be very influential also, okay? They're going to be the type that can create a following, right? Kind of get people who want to listen to them, right? So it's kind of like that throat chakra vibe, okay? Whether it's speaking or singing or politicians, some politicians, right? It's charisma also. These people are going to be super charismatic. There's something about them, again, that people just want to listen to them. What I will say these days, especially, 11 life path or any master number, right? Whether it's in your day, whether it's in your life path number, or whether it's in your name numerology. Now, that's a whole conversation of its own. I'm not going to look into that for her here, but overall, there's that aspect of it as well. So with name numerology, you can change your name and you're basically going to change your quote unquote fate, okay? Because you're going to change the vibration of, your name, right? Like your name also carries a vibration and everything comes back down to numbers. So the basis of this plane is numbers, okay? Numerology, math, equations, astrology, that's all connected. Anyways, that's also a conversation of its own. That's more so metaphysical. So with the whole thing here, 11 life path number people tend to go through a lot, okay, throughout their lives. And the whole reason is that in a way, energetically, the matrix, okay, we're gonna have to think of another word on this channel. But anyways, I'll spell it out for you guys for now. So this entity, right, a lot of the time tries to knock these people down because they know these people have a lot of quote unquote like potential in this particular area of harnessing energy. But at the same time, the individuals who do know numerology, I mean, what we know is probably like still surface level compared to what they know. So they're aware of these things. So they know which people are going to maybe execute a goal for them. Now, what I will say is I personally find that a huge wave of awakenings started taking place around the 80s, okay? So we had that quote unquote hippie movement, sex, drugs, rock and roll. And then in the 80s, specifically, I always psychically see 1985, okay? So 1985, around this time, there was a huge awakening that was taking place, and it was because of a lot of these frequencies. First of all, that were coming through the planet, but also through people's voices. And then they had to shut that down real fast. What took place? A pandemic. Are we surprised? Is this a pattern? What's taking place here, allegedly? I'll leave that one with people. So yeah, anyways, I'm not going to talk too much about that. But yes, so AIDS started blowing up. And it's interesting. It started targeting the sacral chakra, started targeting the sexuality. The sacral chakra is huge. Sexual energy, psychic energy, manifestation energy, creative energy, spiritual energy is all sacral chakra related. With that being said, right, this started being targeted, and then we kind of have a suppression of people. So the people get suppressed. And not to mention the music industry, the way that I psychically see it. Now, I don't know if this is true or not. That's why I'm saying you guys can take what resonates. This is just how I have seen it from just like my observations with just patterns overall. So what I've seen is, again, these people came through, this group of people, to raise the frequency of the planet through their voice. They were always the ones that were kind of like different from the crowd, outside of the crowd, a little bit eccentric, a little bit unique. Like they never would have fit in on this planet. Like these individuals who came in this room never would have fit in because they had specific spiritual missions. And that's exactly Selena. So Selena's in this. So we have that whole 11 life path happening in there. So highly influential individual. Let's get into her natal chart reading. The way that I do my natal chart readings is I go over first impression first. So whatever jumps out at me when I first pull up the natal chart. And then from there it's the flow. Usually toward the end, I'll talk about certain placements that I haven't touched on in the flow part of the reading. And a lot of the time when I kind of hone in on the energy, it's going to be on whatever is really significant for us to know at this time, right? In this particular reading that we're doing. So the first thing that I noticed, okay, here in her natal chart, okay, so she's got her sun in Aries, second house. Again, this is going based off the fact that potentially the time is accurate, okay? So we're basing everything off of this. So sun is in Aries, second house, sun in Aries, people who are here to start something new, some form of new cycle. By keeping pull to talk about her dad, okay? So that's the thing that I really noticed here. Mercury in Taurus, there's her singing voice, okay? Mercury and Taurus people are gonna have good singing voice because Taurus does rule the vocal cords, okay? Third house, there is more of like that, again, speaking, communicating, thinking ideas, likable vibe as well, okay, taking place, retrograde. That is a spiritual message. That's a throat chakra that she came in this lifetime specifically to correct from a previous past life. Now, what I picked up on for her and for her family, they actually travel in groups. So she cleared a bunch of things for her family and her family line, okay, by being the one to transmute this, right? She elevated, okay, that's what happened. She elevated the frequency and the vibe of the whole family, also financially and these types of things. Now, if I remember correctly, because it's been a long time, I haven't really done research about the whole family and everybody, right, before I'm doing this reading, which sometimes is kind of good also because it's going to kind of not have a biased opinion. But from what I do remember about her family is that the dad did used to want to be a singer and he was the one who pushed her into singing, okay? Now, I don't want to say push, this is all allegedly, right? But the thing is, she's got Mercury conjunct Saturn. So there's Saturn in Taurus third house conjuncting her Mercury. So the karma in this lifetime, the karma of her voice, the karma of her singing, all connected to the father in this particular lifetime. Now, it's really interesting. You know, this can go two ways, right? So it's like karmically, he's helping her, you know, elevate, but he also saw a window of opportunity through her. Through her, he's also kind of living out some sort of dream, okay, also, okay, because again, I don't know if this is true, but I just have this recollection of a memory that he wanted to be a singer or in a band or something of that sort, okay? Then he saw, because I didn't watch her movie when I was a kid. So then he saw like, oh my gosh, Selena can sing. And then I remember them all practicing and then everybody kind of joined in and created their band, right? It was Selena y los Dinos. I'm pretty sure. Let's see how good my memory is. Exactly. So that's exactly what the band was. Okay. So Selena y los Dinos. Oh, this is interesting because you got Mercury, Taurus, Saturn, Taurus, all conjuncting the IC and Taurus, okay? So that's all the karma coming from home. So it's like, again, through her, everyone's elevating. I'm getting goosebumps as I'm saying this, so this is confirmation for me, at least. Now, bunch of retrogrades, Mercury retrograde, Jupiter retrograde, Uranus retrograde, Neptune retrograde, Pluto retrograde, North Node, South Node are always retrograde. So all of this retrograde energy, I call this, okay, I don't know if this is a term, I call this a retrograde stellium when we have 3 or more retrograde planets. So basically what this signifies to me, do over a lifetime, finishing. I feel like she completed a complete cycle. I sometimes see a lot of these people as like, in a way, last lifetimers. Elevated the frequency, cleared out whatever karma that they had to do, and mastered the material plane. This is just my own opinion. I feel like once you master the material plane and you complete whatever you had on that soul level like desire, you don't incarnate here again. I don't know if that's fact, I don't know if that's true, obviously just my own opinion, you know, so we don't know, but that's just how I feel. So she completed, right? She came in and out. That's kind of how her life was. And you know, I understand, like, as a society, first of all, like, death isn't something that's talked about. There's this like collective fear that takes place. A lot of the time it was interesting before I even did this reading, and just in general, like with like celebrities' deaths, I was thinking how a lot of the time people, you know, feel really sad, or they say this person could have had so much more time, or like a lot of the time they focus on the fact like that person didn't have a family or whatever it was, right? But it's like sometimes that's not everyone's life path, and we have to understand that. And it's like, yes, okay, when someone crosses out at a young age, in a way it's sad, but at the same time, I sometimes see these people as they completed their mission. It's really what it is. Like, I see it, like they came in and out, like that's kind of like the vibe, without maybe creating more karmic entanglements. You know, she never had a child. So it's interesting because if all this information is accurate, her ascendant is in Aquarius. It's conjuncting her North Node in Aquarius in the first house retrograde. North Node, South Node are always retrograde. So when I see a North Node in the first house Okay, what this symbolizes to me, this person's lifetime is about the self. She's got Venus in the first house. That's what makes her attractive. Okay, Venus in the first house is going to give you that symmetrical face. If it's not this, Venus is in your first house overall. Okay, so there's something magnetic and attractive about you, Venusian, right? She was very Venusian, like very divine feminine, okay? You know, if we see the music industry today, it's like day and night, okay, compared to what it was back then. Anyways, so North Node in the first house, this is a lifetime about the self. You're here to figure out who you are. You're focusing on whatever your goal is. Now, with the North Node in the first house, what's interesting here is the South Node is in the 7th house, okay? So her South Node is in Leo, it's in the 7th, okay? And that is conjuncting her descendant in Leo in the 7th, okay? And right away being taken back into Yolanda, allegedly. So for her, a lot of these people in this lifetime, right, especially in the immediate circle of hers, are karmically connected from a past life. Actually, what's interesting, oh my gosh, okay, so back in the day, I actually did a reading. I used to do tarot readings on celebrities, but I find astrology like way more honed in on the energy. Sometimes when you do tarot, it's like really open, so you can pick up on a lot of things. It's kind of really focused on the energy, right? Anyway, so back in the day, I did a reading on her, and I don't know if I said this in the reading, but actually what I'm psychically picking up on is Yolanda. I don't know if she was her partner in a past life or something. There's something here that was like, she wasn't just jealous of Selena for being Selena and for being the star. Like, it feels very codependent to me, like the dynamic, like very like, I don't know, like, I don't know if it was like Yolanda felt like she wasn't getting attention from Selena anymore. I don't know if there's something wrong with Yolanda's sexuality. She was really in love with Selena. I don't know if it's like she wanted to be Selena. Like, it could have been all of these things. But it's very much that vibe, and I'm seeing it. Like, that's what hooked me into that, because I saw the South Node in the 7th house in Leo, and it took me into her past life, right? So in her past life, a lot of these people, because her South Node is conjuncting her descendant. Now, when I say these things, it doesn't mean it's going to happen for everyone who has these placements, okay? This is just in her particular situation, okay? Anyway, so it hooked me into that. So basically, these people, a lot of these people in her immediate circle were from a past life, and they were karmic, okay? I mean, everyone's karmic in one way, shape, or form. I feel like, again, that's another term that kind of gets used a lot these days, but they were karmic. And with Yolanda, again, I don't know if this was her partner, because, so let me tell you guys, when you have South Node in Leo and it's in the 7th house, so South Node in the 7th house, basically these individuals, a lot of the time what happens with this North Node, South Node axis, when you have South Node in the 7th and North Node in the 1st, basically what happens is, in a past life, you could have given up a lot of your dreams for another person. You could have maybe sacrificed a lot of your wants, needs, and desires for another individual, okay? Maybe it was a partner, maybe it was a family, maybe it was whoever, okay? You sacrifice a lot of what you want for another person. You come through in this lifetime, okay? You come through in this lifetime with North Node in the 1st. It's like, I'm doing what I want to do, and I'm like executing my life purpose, and I'm gonna do like what my soul wants to do on like that soul level desire, right? I'm gonna do it no matter what, okay? That's the vibe. In combination with all of these retrogrades, because she's cleaning out all these things energetically, okay, in this lifetime. So basically, what I was seeing was that I kind of feel like in a past life, Yolanda, I don't know if she was like her husband or like her partner, like she was something like this, okay? So I kind of feel like as soon as Selena started elevating, okay? So Selena started elevating even higher, Yolanda's like whole codependent abandonment thing got triggered, that she was gonna get left behind. And she's kind of like, no, I'm not justifying anybody's actions. Don't get me wrong, okay? I'm not justifying anybody's actions. It's just what I'm psychically seeing, okay? So it's like this vibe of like this jealous energy. It was very jealous energy fuel, but it was also like jealous slash codependent slash like, I just want you with me. I want you to be like around me all the time. Like, you know, that very unhealed codependent vibe where it gets to the point of possession, and then it gets to the point of possession where it's like, if I can't have you, nobody can have you, okay? So that's what I'm hooking into, okay? So that's what I'm seeing for that. So very, very interesting. And then the descendant in Leo is interesting overall, because when you have descendant in Leo, there's a few things, okay? It can go in the positive direction or it can go in the negative direction. So descendant in Leo overall is going to be people you attract into your life, okay? So you're gonna attract very Leo-like types of people. You could also attract people who are like royalty celebrities, right? Like people who are in these like Leo-like flashy types of like positions and roles, absolutely, right? You can attract these types of people into your life. Leo in the 7th house is going to want to show off maybe their partner, right? So she was with Chris. Chris was, I'm pretty sure, the guitarist or the drummer. I can't remember, okay? I'm not going to look it up right now because I don't want to get distracted. But he was one of the people who was also part of the group, right? So that's that Leo vibe, right? So Leo, like, because when you have it in the 7th house, like, you want that dynamic, right? Like, you want this, like, either celebrity status with the partner that you're with. You want them to be either at your status or higher, okay? So that's that descendant in Leo, okay? Now, also descendant in Leo, the shadow aspect of this is you can attract narcissistic people into your life, okay? So there's that. Okay? So you can also attract narcissistic people into your life when you have the descendant in Leo. Now for her, because it's conjuncting her south node, okay, in Leo in the 7th house, this is all past life stuff, okay? So a lot of people in her lifetime currently, I mean, we could say this probably for everybody, that everyone in everyone's current lifetime is from a past life. We could say that for everyone, right? But for her, it's karmic, okay, because it's south node, okay? It's that south node aspect. So it's like, these people are like, almost like, when I say karmic, it's like, it's almost like agreements in a way, right? It's like the souls come in together a lot of the time. So her and Chris, okay, this was a form of, in a way, divine union. And actually, psychically, what I'm seeing is something else that got prevented by her being taken out early was her actually birthing a child, okay? And it's interesting. So now I'm like trying to think, I'm like, is this what I like got when I did the last reading on Selena, when I did it with the cards? I have a lot of those readings actually saved, so I could go back and look, but anyways, it doesn't even matter really, but whatever, I digress. But anyway, so I'm actually psychically seeing that. So this child actually would have played a huge role. So this is another way the quote unquote dark goes after like people who have a lot of light energy. Because sometimes these dark individuals want to obviously keep their place, right? And their positions of power and all these types of things, allegedly, just my opinion, okay? So because of this, you know, people who could be very influential, they try to cut it short, okay? And then it's also like, this is more like Scorpionic, right? Now we're really going into the crown. Like, it's also like what that person could potentially bring in the future. And in her situation, it potentially would have been a child. And the thing that's taking me to this is actually her Venus in Pisces. So her Venus in Pisces, psychically, I'm seeing, I mean, usually this doesn't mean this in other people's natal charts. That's just what pulled me toward that energy, is that this child would have been very healing, okay? There would have been something here that this child was meant to either continue or do or whatever, right? Like change something. Her 5th house overall is in Gemini. So this child could have been someone who spoke to the masses. Maybe he could have been in politics or something of this sort. Could have been very, very influential, but unfortunately that got cut short, okay? Now, it's interesting because, you know, with the whole South Node in the 7th, again, maybe this is something that happened in a past life, right? Where she was trying to break free from this codependent dynamic, right? That she kind of had going on, maybe overall with a lot of people around her, because it's like, sometimes people come through to clear up a lot of bindings and a lot of karmic entanglements that they have with a lot of other people as well. And again, because unfortunately there's a lot of things we don't remember, but on a soul level, the soul does remember, especially when it's like a strong emotion. So that's really what I'm feeling from this Yolanda individual, right? She felt this, like, again, you know, Selena slipping away, leaving her behind, you know, abandoning her. Maybe in the past, if it was a divorce, like whatever it was, it's something like this, okay? So she tried to cut that short, and unfortunately she did. Now, let's look at Selena's talent. I don't want to focus too much on the dark people, but unfortunately they still do play a role, right, in the person's story. So it comes through, it is what it is, right? So Selena's talent specifically comes from her Venus in Pisces. That's where her creative talent, her creative ability comes from. It's the Venus in Pisces is the dreamy vibe, and then Mars in 12th house. When I see Mars in 12th house, not to mention the fact that it's in Capricorn. Mars in Capricorn, beautiful placement. This is a hardworking placement, will climb their way to the top, okay? And a lot of the time Capricorn works in reverse, right? So it's like they spend a lot of their earlier life working, right? So they can enjoy it later on in life, okay? So she's got Mars in Capricorn, it's in the 12th house. Mars in the 12th house or Mars in Pisces people. Now, the thing is, it's important to differentiate here the sign, okay? So the planet's always going to tell you what the energy is. The sign's going to tell you how that energy is going to express itself, and then the house is going to tell you what area of life. So Mars in Pisces isn't the same as Mars in the 12th house, okay? But they do share a lot of similar energetic undertones, okay? It's just how the energy is being expressed and where it's being expressed is going to be different, okay? So Mars in the 12th, this is that energy that I always pick up on, and I've noticed always has a team that they work with. Like, for this type of energy to play out, okay, in the most divine form, they're gonna have either like a strong financial foundation by themselves somehow, or they're gonna have a team that works with them, because it's like they're being elevated. So that's another thing that I also wanted to say about her South Node being in the 7th. So people who have South Node in the 7th, it's like the people from your past life are elevating you in this lifetime, okay? So Mars in the 12th house, these people are basically going to operate best when they have a team, because this person and this individual, doesn't matter what, you know, gender you're born into, this is the energy. Mars in the 12th is going to be very feminine energy, right? So it's going to be the person who is the creative, has all the creative ideas, basically the person who is bringing something through. Now keep in mind, when you're bringing through creativity and you're bringing through something new or whatever it is that you're doing, whether you're being musically creative or artistically creative or innovatively creative, like whatever it is, you're channeling. Okay, this is what people have to understand. You're channeling, you're tapping into the other side. So you're already psychic, right? You're a little bit out of body. You're able to tap into those higher planes and dimensions. So a lot of the time for creative people, this happens without them realizing, right? They just, maybe think they're creative. But what's happening metaphysically and psychically is you're a little bit out of body. So this is why this energy operates best when it's within a team. And a lot of the time you'll see people who are in a lot of feminine energy, specifically if it's like divine feminine energy and you're channeling like that high vibrational light through, you're gonna have, again, this team that's assisting you. They're here to help prop you up into whatever your life purpose is. You'll have one person doing the accounting, one person is doing the marketing, one person is handling the finances, whatever. But that being said, right, it doesn't mean you can't, like if you have this energy, doesn't mean you can't do it on your own. It's just gonna take more energy and it might take more time. It might take more time because then you're gonna try to do everything yourself. And again, it's not impossible. I do wanna point that out. I don't want people to go into codependent energy out here and think that they have to do things with a team, right? You don't have to. It's just that this energy, from what I've observed, operates best when it's in a team because the team is executing the goal and the plan. Now, the more people you add to manifestation, the faster the manifestation is going to come through if everyone's on the same page. So let's say you have a band, right? And one of the people is maybe jealous of the lead singer or whatever, okay? Maybe they wanted to be the lead singer. That band's not going to succeed. They're not going to succeed because that person's energetically holding them back. If everyone's in their respective position, the person who wants to be the drummer really wanted to be the drummer, and the person who's the guitarist really wants to be the guitarist, and the person who's the lead singer is really wanting to be the lead singer, and everyone's like, yeah, like I'm all about this, boom, happens faster. Okay, this is how we can either manifest faster or be pulled behind, depending on the people in the group, okay? Now, with that being said, okay, so that's what's happening in her natal chart here. Mars and Capricorn, beautiful energy. Going forward, focused, okay, it's going to be really, really focused. Now, what's interesting here is her moon is in Sag, 11th house, but this is what I talk about with the undertone of energy. Moon in Sag is known to be the bachelor or the bachelor of the zodiac when it's on its own, but here for her IC is in Taurus. That gives her more grounded moon energy and adds like a layer on top of the moon. So when you guys are looking at your own natal charts, you want to look at the moon, yes, but you want to see a 4th house as well, because the 4th house is going to add a whole different story to the moon, right? Moon in Sag with the undertone of 4th house in Taurus is going to ground that Sag energy way more than maybe something else would, right? Maybe another fire sign or an air sign or a water sign. This is kind of what changed in the dynamic. Like as soon as she met Chris, right? Like right away they hit it off and they got married young. Now part of her getting married to Chris young, I always kind of felt like was her higher self coming through and knowing that they didn't have too much time. I remember that was a whole like debacle, right? The father didn't want her to marry him, and he probably thought that that was going to pull her out of her purpose, right? So there's that 7th house conjunct South Node thing going on again compared to the 1st house in North Node. I don't think he consciously thought this, right? Especially back in the day, like people probably weren't thinking about metaphysics and these types of things, okay? But again, from a higher self level, maybe this is what was happening energetically, right? We're looking at the energy behind something, right? And a lot of the time energy hides behind other things, okay? So it might be something on the surface, but there's a whole other energetic story happening behind the scenes. So this is probably part of the reason that maybe he was against it. Maybe he thought it was gonna distract her or pull her, quote unquote, out of her purpose. To be honest though, with the dad, what I'm picking up on allegedly, I do feel like it was maybe for his own selfish monetary reasons. I will leave that there, okay? I hate to say that, but that's just what I'm picking up on, so I will tell you guys what I'm picking up on. But, you know, with the Saturn being in Taurus, this is restriction on finances by the father. And then it's conjuncting with the Mercury in Taurus, right, her gift. So it's kind of like her gift is connected to the dad. And we see that play out. And he restricts the area of finances, right? So I'm sure he made a lot of the decisions. Maybe he even like really handled the finances or like would pull the reins in, like, right? That's Saturn and Taurus. Now, what I will say for Saturn and Taurus, what's really interesting about this energy is it's always karmic from a past life. Saturn is karma, but it's always karmically connected to a past life in the sense where it's like you either come into this lifetime with the karma of having a lot of money, or you don't have any money, you have to work your way toward the money. So that's kind of Saturn and Taurus, right? And it's always connected to the past life, and it's connected to father, and then if it's not father, it'll be dominant masculine role in your life, and then continuing on, right? Then it'll be the managers, it'll be your teachers when you're a kid, right? So these people are always restricting this area for you, okay? Interestingly enough, it's in the 3rd house. There's that control and quote unquote hold the father had. Maybe it played out in a positive way, maybe it played out in a really good way, maybe she didn't feel like she was being under a control or a hold, right? Because she was exuding light energy. Like, I would say she's one of the most divine feminine, and I rarely use that term these days, right? Because again, New Age has really butchered everything, but by using it too much. but like she was like pure vibrational, like high vibrational light energy. You can see it in her aura and her smile. Like it's almost like she has this like angelic, I'm not trying to put her on a pedestal, right? Because again, you know, like we don't want to elevate people and think of them as like, you know, these like super like human things, but that's just what she was like. She was hooked into the divine in this way, very divine feminine energy, and then through that healing, right? Healing the crowd, healing the people, raising the vibration, right? And obviously, unfortunately, once again, certain individuals can't have that. Anyways, so Mercury and Taurus in the third house. This is the mind. This is the way that she thinks, okay? The way that she speaks. I remember she was very charming. She was very like charismatic. She was very like cutesy. Like I remember some of her interviews where she would like not know a Spanish word and then she'd say English, and like everyone found that so like endearing. Like she was very likable in this way. Okay, that's that Mercury in the third house. Retrograde. Okay, so retrograde Mercury, like I was saying earlier, very specific spiritual mission in this lifetime. Okay, specific spiritual mission, and this individual, it's about the throat chakra and opening it and here to speak something. So I would definitely say that that's been closed out for her. Okay, so she cleared that. She's got Jupiter in the 10th. That's another wealth placement. It's in Sag, and it's conjuncting her Neptune in the 10th. So there it is again, the way that she can make money. Venus and Pisces can make money through Piscean types of things. So film, theater, music, it can be metaphysics, the metaphysical world. It can be spirituality, all these types of things. So Venus and Pisces can make money through this way. But also this aspect, Neptune conjunct Jupiter, okay? So Jupiter, the way that you make money, that you got Neptune, also the way that you make money. Now Neptune in the 10th is interesting. Neptune in the 10th is really, really interesting because it's like sometimes this gives that undertone energy of having a Pisces midheaven. And what's interesting with Pisces midheaven, a lot of the time for these people, the influence of their home is what blurs the midheaven. So what I mean by this is like the influence of the parents. The parents want this thing for you, you want this other thing, right? That's why a lot of the time this energy wants to do everything. So it adds that blurred energy, right? Of like, what do you really want to do? At the same time, because she was a public figure, it was giving her this undertone dreamy energy. It's interesting, as I say that, I could have seen her also be a Pisces rising actually, so she would have probably progressed into that. Overall, Pisces is in her second house. This is how she can make money. Once again, see, it's coded. This is what I mean. Like, this is why she, quote unquote, made it in the area that she did, because it's coded in her chart. Now, what I will say, a lot of the time with a lot of these public figures, okay, what happens is it's traveling throughout the family line until it gets to the person who transmutes it. She was the one transmuting it in the family line. You know, this musical talent, wanting to be a singer, and she's the one that transmuted it. So through that, like I said, she elevated the family. Okay, this is the desire line. Now, she's got all this other retrograde energy happening in here. She got Jupiter retrograde, so that's challenges when it comes to making money, but I would say she broke through that as well, okay? So you guys can also see retrograde energy. Sometimes energetically, I see retrograde energy very similar to like 12th house energy. It's not the same energy, keep this in mind, but it's very similar in the sense that that person is closing out that cycle, okay? So you'll see what the planet means, and that's what that person is closing out in this lifetime. Retrograde to me kind of feels like on a soul level, the person is like really wanting to finish it and really wanting to complete it. And it's like, again, I have to do this again. Like, how many more times do I have to do this? Okay. That's sometimes retrograde energy. And it's also more so internalized energy versus it being externalized. Okay. So what do I mean by this? Now, it's like you can spend more time dreaming about it. You can spend more time thinking about it. She's got Neptune retrograde as well, okay? So she was very much, again, in this divine feminine dreaming vibe, dreamer, like that song, right? Dreaming of you, like dreaming, right? Like that is like that feminine energy. And we all have these energies within us. It doesn't matter whether you're male or female. It's the energy that we have within, okay? It's the dreamer within all of us. So she's got Neptune in the 10th. So this is when it came to her career. I also always remember that little snippet in the movie at the end. Her head is in her mom's lap and she's like, I feel like when I'm singing to people, I don't know exactly what she said. I watched it so long ago, but I did watch it a lot of times because I did have like the VHS tape. So I remember her saying something about like how like when she's singing to people, she feels like she's connecting with them or helping them, like something like this along these lines. I'm really, really paraphrasing here. So that's that Neptune in the 10th, right? The strong visualization, the strong third eye chakra. So it's like, this is a good example of someone who is highly spiritually connected. She was definitely something what we would call a high level empath, transmuting through her vessel everybody's frequency. And a lot of the time, okay, I don't want to speak things into existence because again, I know people have like this like negative connotation with people not living a long period of time, but the thing is, a lot of the time, like people who do possess a lot of this energy, because in a way, like when you're operating on the spiritual planes, you're actually using a lot more energy in terms of your body, because you're, I don't know how to to explain it in a way, like, because it's faster, it's in a higher frequency, it's kind of, in a way, it's kind of wearing the body down. So a lot of the time, these people don't actually live a long period of time. That's one of the reasons. Another one of the reasons is, again, it's that whole vibe of in and out, coming in to complete the mission, out. It's like it's like a one and done. There's this aspect of it as well. So it doesn't mean that this is going to take place for everybody at all. It's just sometimes the vibe that I tap into with some of these individuals. So there's that aspect of it as well. So there's that dreamer vibe that she had. And Neptune in the 10th is dreaming of the career. Now, something that I really want to talk about also, what I noticed in her natal chart, is the midheaven in Scorpio. This I find really interesting. Now, she also has Uranus in the 8th house. She's got Pluto in the 8th house, all retrograde. We'll get to that in just a second. Oh, also she has Lilith in the 8th house. Interestingly enough, she falls under Pluto in Virgo generation, okay? This generation, I see them as the healers, but we'll get into all of that in just a second. I really want to talk about the midheaven in Scorpio for her. Midheaven in Scorpio, in her case, is in her 10th house. So interesting. I was just talking about this recently about Pluto in the 10th house. These people, midheaven, which is your 10th house in Scorpio, okay, could be very similar to the energy of Pluto in the 10th house as well. These people, a few things can take place with them, okay? So they change in front of the public. They transform, they change in front of the public. They can go through a lot of career changes, yes. But in her case, what I was psychically seeing is this is where the transmuting, quote unquote, high level empath thing that I keep talking about. When I say these things, high level, doesn't mean anyone's better, doesn't mean anyone's worse. It's just like the spiritual ability that the person has. So when someone has a lot of spiritual energy, keep in mind a lot of spiritual energy is a lot of sexual energy, is a lot of creative energy, and it's a lot of psychic energy. When a person has a lot of spiritual energy, their aura expands out and they also become magnetic. I talk a lot about this on my channel, so if you guys want to learn more about these types of things, check out my channel, because we're trying to focus on Selena here. So the midheaven in Scorpio, for her, in her case, what she was doing, this is where the quote unquote high level empath thing comes in. Transmuting the energy of the crowd. Scorpio transmutes, okay? They're here to transmute energy is basically what it is, okay? So she's transmuting the energy of the crowd through her voice. So that's midheaven in Scorpio. Now, in traditional astrology, there's so many more meanings for midheaven in Scorpio. I'm not going to go into all of the meanings in this particular reading. I'm just kind of talking about what applies in her natal chart. If you guys want to learn more about midheaven in Scorpio, definitely check out my YouTube channel. I actually have a whole Scorpio 8th house playlist. Now, let's go back to her Uranus and Pluto in the 8th house. So here's the thing with all the outer external planets, okay? They're generational. So the sign in here is going to affect the generation more. The house affects the person more. So the sign in here, Uranus in the sign of Libra, is going to be the whole generation. So it's going to be what she incarnated with the generation to clear overall. I'm not going to focus too much on the generational stuff and the karma within the whole generation. And I'll just scratch the surface because we're going to talk more so about her energy. So the generational thing here, Uranus and Libra, these are unique relationships, unique perceptions when it comes to relationships. This is going to be the area that you rebel in. And in a way, here's the thing, it's generational, right? So you incarnate with a generation to clear it through the generation, with a generation, for the generation, and then for the line, okay? So that's how the generational planets work. So you'll see, so it's like, because it's generational, it's still in your energy field, right? So you'll see that this is where she rebelled. She was rebelling against her father's wishes, okay? And that is her breaking the past life karma. So it's like the dad, in a way, didn't want her to marry Chris, for example, right? And that was from his energetic imprint of remembering probably that in a past life, you know, like there was a lot of sacrifice energy like toward relationships and these types of things. He energetically is all energetic, okay? Maybe didn't want her to do that, was trying to prevent that energetically from happening, but she rebelled, okay? And she succeeded. So that's karma broken, okay? So that's that. So that's Uranus in the sign of Libra. Now it's partially conjuncting. It's not in the exact same sign. It's in the 8th house. So Uranus is in the 8th house. Retrograde. This is sometimes a struggle to express the self. It's interesting because she does have her Aquarius rising. Aquarius rising is always going to be a trendsetter, once again different, out of the crowd, okay? They're always going to kind of feel like they don't fit in with the rest of the crowd, and that's where that North Node comes through, okay? North Node in the 1st house, about the self, here to express the self, again, because it is Aquarius, something unique, starting some sort of new trend. A lot of the time you will see public figures, okay? So people who, quote unquote, end up in the public eye, there's a lot of things to look for, okay? I do have a video on that on my YouTube channel as well. Obviously it's going to be a combination of things, and the more of these things you have, maybe you'll end up in the public eye, but a lot of the time I've noticed in the big three, if they have a combination of Sag, Gemini, Aquarius, and Leo, these people sometimes end up in public roles. Obviously it's a combination of things, but this is one of the things. And not to mention she's got 2 10th house placements, which is also public life, okay, and money and elevation, right, getting to those higher heights. Now Uranus retrograde, it also feels like she broke through that, right? She was able to be herself, right, express herself fully. It doesn't feel like she ever held back, right, with who she was as an individual. Neptune retrograde, this adds even more fog and haze to the way you see things. We'll get to Neptune in just a second. I want to talk about Pluto being in Virgo in the 8th house retrograde, okay? So Pluto retrograde is, you know, challenges when it comes to change. So it's interesting because it's like, You know, sometimes when we look at like the lifespan, not like the literal lifespan, like birth and death, but when you look at like the lifespan of a musician overall, like the popularity lifespan, let's look at it that way. When we look at the popularity lifespan, right? Every musician has a peak, and then they kind of have like the down, and then they kind of go into the shadows and people forget about them. So they might still be in the public, they might still be in the public eye, yes, right? But it's interesting because just by seeing the Pluto retrograde, what this was taking me into was, you know, she has the peak with the group all together. Basically what happened was, in a way, she's taken out during her peak. The group's peak, everybody, right? Like they were at like their peak, you know, everyone knew them, they were super popular, these types of things. Now let's say she had continued living, right? There would have been that drop, and maybe she would have wanted to separate, and maybe, you know, there would have started to be arguments between the groups and these types of things, okay? So there's that aspect of the story as well. I do see Pluto retrograde. If more time would have gone on where she was living, you know, maybe she would have been resistant to the change of maybe leaving the group, and maybe, I don't know, maybe she was offered to do her own thing or whatever it was. I would have seen her, I'm curious to know if she did fashion or something of that. I don't know if that's something that's ringing a memory for me. I don't know, but I could have seen her maybe go more into that direction as well. I think she did design maybe her outfit, now that I think of it. Like, I keep seeing her in that purple outfit, right? The one that's like cut out around the stomach. Yeah, so maybe she designed that, but maybe she would have spent more time focusing on the fashion or something of that sort if she had continued living. But the retrograde would have been pulling her maybe to not want to change, right? So Uranus and Pluto in the 8th house, this is really interesting, okay? Because Uranus in the 8th house is going to be very much like rebellion and uniqueness when it comes to sexuality, vulnerability, intimacy. When I say intimacy, it could just be like how you experience closeness with people. Pluto conjuncting this, okay? So you're chaining through this area, and it's also a unique expression of that particular energy because it has that Uranus aspect in there. Actually seeing that Uranus is actually aspecting her sun. So there's that unique expression of the self once again, okay? Being very unique and being a trendsetter, right? So that's another reason why sometimes you'll see Aquarius people in the public eye, because they are trendsetters. People are interested in them, right? They're gonna wanna follow them, okay? They wanna know what they're up to and, you know, what's the next trend that you're gonna start. So having Pluto in the 8th house, this is going to be the area that you yourself are transforming through. She would have transformed through anything that is 8th house, like sex, death, rebirth, joint finances, taxes, and the occult. Now what I will say for her, and let me just speak in code here, I do feel like part of the reason here, you guys are gonna have to read between the lines, I do feel like a huge part of her success was her ability to harness her own sexual energy. That's, I think, where a lot of her talent came from as well. So I'm just gonna leave it at that. Now, Pluto in Virgo is the overall Pluto and Virgo generation. These is boomers too. It's just so wild to me because it's interesting to see when someone's imprinted in your mind, like when they cross out, she's still young in all of our minds, but she's 1971. She fits under the quote-unquote boomer generation, boomer 2. So this generation, I'm not going to go too much in depth, right? If you guys want to learn more about boomers 2, you guys can check it out on my YouTube channel. Boomers 2, I call them the healers, okay? A lot of them were born in the 60s and 70s, so either they lived through the 70s or they were born with like the energy imprint of the 70s on them. So she's got a lot of like Neptunian influence in the chart, Piscean energy overall, and then she's got that Mars in the 12th house overall. Now, what I find interesting in here, I'm not going to touch too much on a lot of these asteroids in this particular reading, just because that's just the way that I'm being guided. So I'm not going to go too much in terms of the asteroids, but what I will say here is that she's got Chiron in Aries, and she's got it in the 2nd house, conjuncting the sun. That's the healing with the father in this particular lifetime. That's one of the biggest things. She was also transmuting in this lifetime with the healing with the father. Not to mention, because it is in Aries and it's in the 2nd house, it's also healing the 2nd house. Okay, so money, getting money, right? Maybe they didn't grow up with money, for example, and now she healed that aspect because now she has money, for example, with personal finances. So that's what she's healing through on a soul level in this lifetime. The Aries energy in here is the leadership, okay? It's the leadership aspect of things. It's being seen as a leader, as a starter, as number one, right? So that's healing for her, not to mention it being conjunct the sun, right? It's the ego expression. Sun in the sign of Aries, like they really want to kind of be seen for them. You know, sometimes Aries gets labeled as quote unquote selfish. It's not that they're selfish, they're just basically here to fully express the self, right? Like in that way, like who am I? What am I here to do? I call it developing the solar plexus chakra because it is conjuncting her Chiron. This is going to be basically a healing aspect for her. She's got fortune in Gemini in the 4th house. This is interesting, okay? Because this is the way that she makes money in abundance. So she made it with her family, okay? That's fortune in the 4th house. With her family, through her family, they made money. Now, fortune in the 4th house can also manifest many other ways as well, but we're just talking about how it manifested in her natal chart. Fortune in Gemini, there's that throat chakra as well. Speaking, singing, you know, the interviews, like the likability aspect of things, okay? This is also how she could activate abundance in her natal chart, and that's basically what she did in this lifetime. So with all that being said, I'm going to wrap up this reading here. I do hope you guys enjoy this reading on Selenaquintanilla. If you guys have anybody else that you guys want me to read on, definitely leave me some comments below. Make sure you guys like, share, and subscribe, and I hope you all have a beautiful rest of the day.